Hola, mujerones. Welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited today because I have a very special guest. I love to say this. I talk about this all the time at my events. Un mujerón always has someone that supports her, a partner that is super, that sees like the best in you, right? Super supportive, someone that you can talk about what you're going through. And today I have my husband here with me.
Hey,
Welcome.
how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the podcast. It's been a while since you've been on here.
Yeah, it's been about a year or something, right?
Yeah, maybe more than that. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm excited to bring this series where you'll be joining me so that we can
Ooh.
talk about like what it looks like behind the scenes, like building Mujeron movement. Obviously, you with all of the amazing things you're doing, being parents, all of the things. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite the journey, huh?
It has
Jeez.
been.
Yeah. I'm excited.
So we asked you guys if you had any questions for us, and we have a couple of those that we picked out that we wanted to share with you guys today. We're excited. But first, hold up.
Oh, I was excited.
Hold
I
up.
told you I
We're
was
going to
excited.
go
Oh,
into
jeez.
a
Hold on.
like update because definitely since the last time we've been here, it's been a while.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot has changed in our lives. We've gone through a lot of growth, a lot of lessons. So we kind of just want to do a little recap.
yeah. Why don't you start the recap and I'll jump in?
All right. So last time we chatted, we were still living in Milwaukee. So I think that's like the biggest change, the biggest transition we've had is we came back home to
Yeah,
Arizona. And it was a decision that we made like one day to the next.
on a whim.
And it's been a great decision, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It's been one of the better decisions we've made.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So tell me how you feel.
I feel great. I think that one of the things that we got to be obvious about is like we were in Milwaukee, far from family, and although we made it work and we found a way to just be very, very, very successful out there, um, I think deep down inside there was a little part of us that was missing family, and I don't think I
Mm,
realized that until I got here. So I'm really happy to be home.
yes. And in the process, like I feel like we stepped into so many roles.
Yeah,
Obviously we're parents, so that's like the biggest thing that we've had before, moving to Milwaukee, coming back. We are landlords now. That's
yeah,
something
yeah,
that's something I feel like you've been talking about since we were dating.
yeah,
And I just want to say I love seeing you step into that.
yeah. I'm a little handyman when I need to be, you know. But it's been cool. I think that it's one of those goals that I had in the background, but now that it's been a goal that's achieved, I'm ready to get some more. You know.
Yeah. What do you think has been the biggest lesson stepping into that role? Because I feel like I'm there, but I'm definitely on the sidelines. Like I've seen you really commit to it.
Yeah. I think that I don't even want to call it like any kind of lesson. I think that if you do good things, like good things will come to you. And that really falls in place with this whole landlord thing. You know, like we went to the moon to make sure that house was ready for the tenants. You know, we're always there for the tenants. And I think that that is just kind of paying itself back and, just how much they're taking care of the house, like how long they want to stay there. Um, that's kind of how I'm feeling about it. Maybe karma plays a bit there.
Yeah. I feel like also in this, I want to share this because I feel like in any business that you step into, you think about this. We lived in the house, obviously. So I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of things we were like, we hope that they like because we liked.
Yeah.
And seeing you just like step into that, I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but I feel like we're going to get somewhere with it.
Sure.
And I just feel like that's the cool part about a partnership, right? Because being a landlord is not something that I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. Like, that's my biggest goal. But I know that that was one of your goals, not your ultimate goal, but one of your goals.
Yeah.
And in the last episode, something that really stuck with me was us talking about how sometimes our goals don't have to be the same,
Mhm.
but somehow they always like align. And I think for me, the biggest thing has been seeing you step into it and reach that. So like, okay, what's next? What are we doing now? So for you, how has seeing me maybe like step into the goals that I've talked about in the past, like how has that been for you?
I think it kind of goes back to like day one, right? And like, and if anybody that's followed this channel for a while, the whole keep your promises might be something that rings a bell. So I mean, like if we talk about you stepping into your actual goals and stepping into your achievements, I think a lot of that roots in some of the promises that you gave yourself or even gave us years ago, right? So the whole landlord thing, dude, we were talking about that when we were kids, right? Like now we're 50 years old, shit. But like it's one of those
Speak for
goals that
yourself.
it's a long-term goal, and I think that like I see you achieve goals year after year after year after year, and I think that that just kind of talks a little bit more into how goals to be achieved. You don't have to do it all right then and there. It's over time. So it's nice to see you in your not even your final form, but an elevated, progression model.
I think it's so inspiring, like to see that. Even, me seeing you like step into every goal that you've had and every role that you've taken, like even at your company
Yeah.
with your career, like that has been so inspiring. There's a little bit of competition, would you say?
Between you and I?
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah.
And I think I love to talk, I want to talk about this and I love to see it because a long time ago, we had like this joke of like, let's see who gets to $1 million first.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like actually something we brought back and like
Yeah.
talk about. And I think like the reason why I want to talk about it is whatever works for your marriage and whatever works for the dynamic that you have, right? Because I think motherhood really set a different perspective for me with that thought process at the beginning because I was like, whoa, I'm like a few steps behind now. And now, like, when we're getting into the rhythm of things, and like now that Ezra's older, like, he's all about dad. So, like, you guys hang out and I get my time, and like, it's different. It's like more realistic for me now.
Sure.
But I just wanted to say I love the competition.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like run it up, I'll see you at the top. Seriously.
All right, let's get into the questions now. Um, I I asked some of the girls inside Mujeron University what they wanted to know about, like what we um how, just like the BTS of being partners, of being married, of having a son, of like building our businesses and our careers and all of that. So the first question is, I'm going to ask this. This was specifically for you.
Sure.
So rephrasing what she asked is, for your husband, how do you recognize when your partner is overwhelmed, and what do you do in that moment? Like when you have a lot on your plate and it's not something that you can delegate.
It's kind of funny
Why are you laughing?
because it's a funny question, dude. The reason why I say it's funny, I'll kind of give some preface here, is I think that maybe I can rephrase it a little bit, and it's how do I know when Sonia's at a breaking point, right? Because, dude, overwhelmed is something that I think that you are at all times. Like we stuff so many goals into like 24 hours that we operate in a state of chaos, and I think we both do it, right? So it's not so much of like, how do I know when Sonia's overwhelmed? Like shit, so Sonia's been overwhelmed since day one. Like it's like how do we? And I think that like one of the things that you've always done a really good job of is just putting 100% into multiple things, right? Like these multifaceted like individual that is just multi-passionate, and it's like that every day, right? So if I'm thinking, how do I see when Sonia is close to a breaking point? I think it's when you're most quiet, you know? So when you're most quiet, I think that's my time to kind of jump in and ask more questions, see how I can help. But I got to be honest, I think we're on the same boat. I'm overwhelmed every day too, So it's more so just about me coming out of my own life and taking a look at you to see how you're doing. Because if not, then like, what are we doing, right?
Yeah, and I like this question of overwhelm because I think that we're all trying to run away from it. Like, how do you overcome overwhelm, or how do you da 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 da? And I truly believe, like, you're right. If you are a high achiever, if you are multifaceted, if you want a family but also want the career, you want to be a present mom, and like there's going to be times, most of the time, you are probably going to feel overwhelmed. But I think the key here, it's like, it's a feeling too, right? So finding the things that help you come out of that is something that really helps. And I think for us, like when it comes to being you and I, like those impromptu date nights or, the different things that we do in order to connect with Ezra,
Yeah.
family time,
Yeah. Coming out of it.
ordering out,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
our happy dance.
Yeah.
Like it's the little things that really help you come out of it, even in the midst of the chaos, like we said.
Yeah.
So finding that with your partner or finding that with your family, or with yourself, literally with yourself. Like there's a reason why I invest in, like recently, right, with the trainer and like waking up. I don't want to do it, but I feel like for me that really helps me come out of it. And I think I see when you do your things that help you come out of overwhelm, I'm assuming that when I'm trying to like implement certain things personally, you also see how they help, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
good. 'Cause I was gonna say. All right, what's the question that they had for me?
All right, let me grab this real quick. All right. Ooh. How did you tell your partner you wanted to start a business?
Okay, so I don't know if I ever sat down and told you I wanted to start a business.
What do they think
I
this
feel
is?
like that's one thing that I love about you is that I never felt limited to starting something new. Even if it meant I was going to invest money out of our account, like out of what we have together into the business. It was never like, well, what is the plan? I don't think that you asked me like what is your business plan or what is that until it started to get serious. Like you started to see me showing up more, or like I was making bigger investments that you were like, okay, what's the plan here? But I think one of the things that I would say, if you're someone who's wanting to start a business and you want your partner to get on board, the best way, and I know this is going to sound like we always talk about this, but one of the key things for me was keeping my promises. And that's like overall, when I started to keep my own promises about the business that I wanted to build, the way I wanted to show up in the business, the way I wanted to serve my community, then you started to see a different side of me that you're like, oh, okay, this is serious. Not that you ever thought it wasn't serious, but I think that it definitely shifted, you know, it's it's going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember, but like before we even started dating, like maybe one of the first or second days that we had known each other, um, we were like sitting in my car talking, and we were talking about like what we wanted to do in life, right? Weird, right? Like we just met each other and we're talking about these goals, right? It's fucking weird. But you literally had told me right then and there that you thought that there was a demographic that was underserved, and if you could do anything, you would do something that helped them understand their true value, right? So when it came down to you starting your business, I think the reason why we never had a conversation about it is because I knew that that was your ultimate goal. So
Hmm.
when you started showing up and doing these things, and obviously putting yourself in front of the world, then I just knew that it was coming to fruition. So I don't know if we ever needed that conversation because you told me from the very get go that this is what you wanted to do in life,
Yeah.
and it was just about me supporting you from there.
Yeah, and that really takes me back to the beginning of building Mujeron movement. Like the reason why I filed a trademark right away was because of you. Like you were the one that was like, before I think it was right before we started to do the events,
Yeah,
you were like, you have to do that. There's just certain things that I look back and I'm like, I don't think I ever sat down and told you I wanted to start a business, but the way that I was showing up and the way that you believed in me, it was just like that's how I felt the support.
hell yeah, yeah. As soon as I saw that fire lit, I was like, let's make sure it stays lit, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
that's all it is, support.
Awesome. Okay, so that was my question. So we have a question for both of us. And that's what has been the biggest game changer activity or routines that you do together that has helped you grow your business and leadership? And I think, yeah, this can also relate to like in your career.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. You know what I mean? Like some of the stuff that really stands out is like role playing is kind of funny. You know, like
Oh my God, no. Please
no,
don't.
it helps me. Like I think that like sometimes like especially in leadership, like there are certain things you want to do and you want to make sure that goes over smooth. So role playing these scenarios and these situations.
I hated role playing at the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. But you did so good. You did so good. So you didn't do that good. Those are kind of the things that I'm thinking like, dang, like that really helped, right? And it wasn't so much of a routine, but it was something that kind of took us out of our comfort zone, and it really helped because we were able to apply these things in the real world, right? Um, I can continue to go on. Can I keep going?
Yeah, whatever.
Cool.
Then I'll jump in.
I think like we talked about like taking ourselves out of the day to day, right? Like we're so entwined in the things that are helping us grow to be the best versions of ourselves that sometimes we forget that we're in this world with other people. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that coming out of it has been really big, right? Like opening our eyes, looking around, taking ourselves away from work or taking ourselves away from that goal we're trying to achieve. And then just for like 4 or 5 hours, disconnecting for a little bit and enjoying each other, right? Enjoying our son, right? Being intentional. That's been a really big thing. And it's to the point like where I look forward to it sometimes, you know, because in all honesty, if we're not living in the moment with each other, we'll be fucking 80 years old upset about it, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So for me, two things that I feel like are recent, especially after becoming parents.
Yeah.
Because I think before having Ezra, it was easier. This part was easier, like connecting or just like being with each other. But I think now with Ezra, it's been a little bit harder. Um, and for me, it was like the couples trips.
Yeah.
That was a huge one. I felt like the couples trips came right in the moment that we needed them.
Dude,
Like we were
shout out
about
Team Wisco. Let's go. Couples trips.
like we were about to just lose it and then like, oh, we have the couples trip and
Uh,
then we would just recharge. Like those really help us and I hope that we continue to do those even after we've left our friends
yeah.
in Wisconsin. We're about to go back. So I feel like that's going to be another recharge for us.
We should like explain what a couples trip is. Though,
Okay,
right? Yeah.
yes.
So like so hey people out there, couples trips, like find you a group of 4 to 5 couples that you guys just get along with, right? And then plan trips with them. If you didn't know, that's what a couple trips is. That's what it is, right? But I think that it's even more than that, right? Like go on those trips, be vulnerable, have a good time, connect, right? Because sometimes if it's just you and your wife, I mean, like obviously, like that's a great time. But like when it's different energy, different elements, like that's when it's truly a different vibe. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the last one of the last couples trips that we did, we actually took time together first.
Yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was like the best
Yeah,
combination.
yeah.
Like 2 or 3 days before we hung out, just him and I, and then we joined the group. But the other thing that I want to say when looking for the couples, make sure that you align. And one of the things that I know it's gonna sound like, yeah, whatever, is the no drama. Like there's literally no drama. You will never like we're never just even though we drink or whatever, I feel like the trust is there and there's like the couples don't fight, you
Yeah.
know, between themselves when like now fulanita de tal and him just aren't a part of the group. So I feel like that we were very lucky in like finding that, but definitely hang out. We hung out with these people way before we started to do the trips. The first trips were just like road trips, so you could have just left back home if you weren't vibing. And then we started to commit to like international, like going to Mexico
Yeah.
and going for longer times. So I think that was one of the things that I felt really helped us, especially after becoming parents. And then there was another one, and I can't remember.
Take your time. We got all day.
Do you have anything else?
No, I mean like I don't
There
know. I
was
think
another one that I felt like I really wanted to share. Oh, how can I forget? Um, so the implementing Myra.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Myra is
strengths
our.
and weaknesses. Write that shit down. Yeah. Yeah.
So Myra is our personal finances planner, I guess we can call her.
Yeah.
She handles all our personal finances. I think that that was something that we struggled a lot with. Like, we were so busy trying to make money or figuring out ways how to make money or like out there just hustling. And we didn't look at our finances as often as we wanted to. We didn't pay attention to it as much or in detail as we wanted to. So, in one of our little marriage meetings that we hosted together,
Yeah.
we literally got down to the okay, we need help. Like, we need someone to come in, pay our bills. We don't have to worry that things are like due. What's a new expense that's coming up? What's like something that, make sure that our emergency fund is in there. Make sure that we're planning if we're going on trips, we're planning on that expense. For Christmas, like this year was one of the first times that we really sat down and like
Set a
budget
budget. Yeah, set a budget, dude.
set a
Yeah.
budget, like all of those different things that I feel like has been a huge game changer is finances. Like, I think that was a huge one, Myra. You're the best. I just want
Yeah.
to say,
Thank you,
like,
Myra.
we
Yeah.
will we will link her stuff on the show notes because she has been a game changer for us. um but that, like, looking at your finances, so make sure that you guys sit down and look at it, and then just scheduling time with people that you vibe and together. So those are my
Yeah.
two.
Like on the financing, I think that one of the things that's most important is like understanding where to spend that money, right? Because it's like, it's not, I don't think it's just about the bills, right? I think it's also about the other things you could do with money, right?
Yeah.
Because instead of buying a table at the club, you know what I mean? Maybe invest that money, right? So I think that like that's one of those things that maybe because I think that now in America the percentage of high earners is a lot higher than what it was in the past, right?
Right.
So you have these instances where you're enjoying life, you're spending, right? And you don't really know if you were to change just a small tad bit of that, how much you could change your life for the long term. And I think that that was one of the bigger things for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it really pushed us to sit down and think about our long-term goals,
Yeah, be intentional with your money.
which I feel like, you have goals as a couple, as a family, of
Yeah.
course. But when you are that intentional with how you're spending or what you want to spend on, and you have someone to guide you, like, okay, well, what are you working for? Then you actually sit down and think about, like, oh, well, this is my goal, this is his goal. How do they now align?
Yeah. Like, why are you going to fucking Whole Foods and buying like $10 bananas? Right? You know, like things like that, like changes like that.
Yeah, because I want to have good bananas.
Yeah, whatever, bro. Whatever.
That's like the small stuff,
No, I'm
but
just
we don't want
saying.
to. You want to lay out our finances up in here,
So I'm
no.
just saying.
But I felt like that was such a big game changer for us.
Sir, yeah.
We'll give you guys an update in like 5 years and see where we're at. We're just starting year 2 with her, so we've been working with her for 1 year, and I feel like that was a huge change.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But kind of going back to this whole like strengths and weaknesses thing, like I'm telling you, like if you don't know your strengths and weaknesses, and I'm not talking about as a person, like I'm saying as a couple, right? Like you should know that. You should write that down. And I think you should put a person in place to either help the weaknesses, right? Or make a really definite decision that you're going to fix that weakness, right? And that's a bigger thing, right? And I think it comes down to delegation, right? Think about any professional, right? Any person that's in a high position, they're in a place where they're delegating these items, right? So why can't you delegate as an individual, as a couple, right? As a family?
Yes, I love that. And there was a conversation I had where they were saying that how can you implement like business, um, like how can you implement just a business structure, sort like to say, in your household.
Sure. Yeah.
And I feel like that's one way. For us, it was like finding someone to help us with that, using Instacart, having systems in our house in some way that help us kind of get things out of the way, especially now that we're getting busier.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that was a big one too.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, thank you for hopping on the podcast. I hope to have you more often
Yeah,
if
me
you
too.
allow us.
Yeah, if the ratings do well, you might see more of me. So,
Yes, actually, I think your episode was one of the biggest ones. So
don't flatter me.
we'll have him back for sure. Thank you so much, babe, for being here.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
All right, ladies. I hope this helped with anything that you're working on in your family, with your partner, your husband. Keep on working towards becoming the best version of yourself, I'll say, and the best version of your couple self, if that makes
Yeah, that
sense.
makes a ton of sense. I like it.